morning everyone, and welcome to Monday. And today we're going to make a cheap meal, and it's going to be a meatless meal. So many of you ask for meals that don't require any meat in it. And the temperatures are rising, and that means we're going to be eating a little more lighter than what we did all winter long. So the first thing I have to do is finish up my chores. Before I ever make any YouTube videos, I always finish up my household chores. That way that is all done and out of the way. So just stay with me just a little bit and we'll get making our meal. What we're going to make is acorn squash. Now you can't get much cheaper than acorn squash, and this was organic. Now some of this was given to me and some of it I already had. So how I make it is really simple. We're going to take the acorn squash, we're going to cut it in half. Now since it is organic, now I know the name organic doesn't mean necessarily that it is, but let's just assume that they are being true and it is organic. I'm going to save those seeds because those seeds are going to grow me my own plants next year. Maybe I'll try some of them this year, but the seeds should be totally dry, and it might get too late in my season once they're dry. But I'm going to show you how you can have your acorn squash. You can have it for years to come. Buying organic is the way to go, but a lot of people's budgets don't afford it. But every once in a while you can get a sale, like I did on my strawberries, for 99 cents for a pound, and they were organic. They actually were genuine organic. I had checked with the company that they gave their website, and they also gave the indication number of where my berries were grown. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make this simple dish. The thing we're going to do is we are going to spray our casserole dish. You can also use butter if you like, or you can line it with foil. Grandma Fanny, she always lined it with foil, but I ran out of foil and I don't seem to have any. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our squash. Now I'm sure everybody knows how to do this. I'm going to cut it this way. I'm going to find the groove that's naturally in the squash, and we're just going to cut down on it. And that's what it looks like. A good knife always helps when you're working with these projects. So here we have the squash. Now as you see, there are different kinds of squash because it came from different places. This one is more like this shape, but this one and this one I think are a different kind. I am not sure, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to take all of the seeds out of our squash because we're going to save them. So a good thing to use for taking seeds out of is a grapefruit spoon, and I'll show you what a grapefruit spoon looks like. Grapefruit spoon has a serrated edge on the end of it, which helps it to cut better. So we're going to use a grapefruit spoon and we're going to just spoon out all of the seeds. Now I have them in this very fine mesh colander, so I can go ahead and I can wash them and we can dry them. I'm going to go ahead and take out all the seeds of the squash, and then I'll show you what I add to them. What I always do is I add just a little bit of water on the bottom of the pan. Not a whole lot, just a little bit so they don't burn to the bottom of your casserole. This is all of the seeds that I got from these acorn squash. So it's 3 squash and I got enough of seeds to last me for years. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take some butter. Now you can omit this part of it, but this is what we like and this is what really makes it good. Is we're just going to take a little pat of butter and put it in the middle of each acorn squash. There's no set amount, it's just how you like it. Some people like a little more butter, some people don't like much butter at all. but the butter does help keep moisture in it, and it also is really good. And the last thing we do is we put a little bit of brown sugar as well. Once again, you can admit this part if you're a diabetic or you don't like the sweetener, but we just add a little bit. I'm talking a little bit, like a teaspoon maybe. Some are a little more, some are a little less. Just a little bit. There you go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pop this in a 325-degree oven. I'm not sure how long, I would say about 1 hour, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So basically, we're roasting some acorn squash for a meal that doesn't have any meat in it, and it's very frugal as well. Especially if you can grow your own, it's just about free. And I don't know about you, but it's hard to find free food these days. I'll get back to you in just a second, then share with you what it looks like. So now what we're going to do is we are going to wash and wash and wash all of the squash seeds. And we want to get all of the meat away from it. The meat is the flesh part of it, some of the vegetable part of it. So we're just going to break all the seeds away from all of that. So now we're just going to take our seeds and we're going to just spread them out on the cookie sheet. Now I always have a cloth or something that can absorb some of the moisture. Now it's going to take a while for these to dry. You want to always make sure that they are totally dry before you pack them away, because they can rot very easily. So this is going to be for at least 6 weeks, probably 8. Put them in a very dry and very warm room. You don't want to roast them, but you want to have a nice warm room for it. So there you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take the rest of this and we're going to see what the chickens think of their squash. So the babies aren't too sure about it yet, but the big chickens sure do like them. The babies are just getting used to human food like this. So it takes them a little bit to learn that this is food. And I think that they are going to catch on really fast. Uh-oh, here comes another one. And the garage is a perfect place to put these seeds so they can dry. People ask me what this is and where I got it. I got it last year at Aldi grocery store. It's actually to put sweaters and other clothing on it to dry. And I use it for a makeshift dehydrator. And it works out great. Well, it's time for lunch, and I just made myself just a regular tomato sandwich. It's just tomatoes with a little mayo on sourdough bread. And here is our squash. And it bakes really nice, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now it's really hot. So as you see, it's basically roasted, and we're going to give it a try. One thing I like about putting a little butter in the center and a little bit of brown sugar is because it keeps it moist. So you would want to cover it with foil. That would help keep it more moist, but I didn't have any foil, so it's really, really hot. So you have to be careful when it comes to something like this. Whenever you have brown sugar and butter in something, that syrup that it gives is so hot. But this is what it looks like. That is just so good. I love the time of the year in the fall when these actually are in season in my area. Acorn squash can be kept almost all winter long, like you can keep potatoes and any other kind of root crop. Acorn squash lasts a long time if it's kept in a cool and dark place. I like to keep my acorn squash in a box with some straw in it, and it stays all winter long. I ran out of it this year, but I hope to be able to plant more. So, I hope you enjoyed this video on this meatless dish. It's a healthier dish than what I normally share with you, and I hope you like it. And if you like these healthy recipes, just keep watching, because I'm going to have a lot of them, because we're in that time of the year when there's a lot of really healthy choices that we can have in our food diet. See you guys! That was really good. From Fanny's Diary, we are on May the 20th, 1943. Fanny writes, "Today was cool in the morning and stormy. Blackie, our goat, had twins. In the evening, we went to Frank's for a shower for Helen Miller and a friend."